Just when you think you've run into the most bizarre rabbit hole on the internet, something seems to pop up and take its place entirely. We now have billions of people connected online, and statistically, it is inevitable that some strange behaviors of these certain individuals are going to stand out. While my channel thus far has mentioned a wide variety of internet mysteries, today I instead want to dive into an internet oddity that has led me to an incredibly bizarre online profile. So without further ado, today we are going to dive into the prolific online persona of Ron Legarski. Ron Legarski has been quite literally popping up onto people's maps lately. But before I say anything more about Ron, I want to jump into Google Maps and show you exactly what I'm talking about. One of the coolest functions of Google Maps or Google Earth is the possibility to use something called a photosphere to view a photo of any given location at Street View. These photos are posted by individual users. By navigating over into Google Earth and selecting the pegman at the bottom right, it allows you to switch on and toggle Google Street View and photospheres. Now, one such oddity that is starting to capture the internet's attention are some of these bizarre photospheres from an account called Ron Legarski, and it's just so happened that he's posted almost 500,000 photos. At the first time this was brought to my attention, you could still view all of his photos in a feed, and they had about 17.5 million photo impressions across all of the photos he had posted. While his photo feed now remains privatized, you can still see his stats listed on his account, and you can still find photos by simply going to any remote location like Antarctica and going into Google Maps, and you will find a post from this guy. One major detail I should mention that has started to make people take notice of Ron Legarski is that all of the photos were of his office, not tagged locations like they should be. I have saved some of the photos from Reddit threads, and I will go through them with you. But as of today, if you want to go find some of his photos, they are still out there in abundance. Absolutely no location has been safe from his geotagging sprees, and while most of his photos that he's been posting there are innocuous, a select few have been cryptic to say the least. One of the more bizarre photos I found is something I'll show on the screen now, and showed some typed text onto a piece of paper with a camera tripod onto it. We're going to get into this guy's writings in a bit, but for now, let's continue on. Another interesting photo that was geotagged shows the tattoo of the guy's arms, that all of his tattoos are symmetrical, and this is something that Ron seems to be very fond of, is symmetry. Here in this photo, we also see the tripod again from the other photo. What makes this profile so enigmatic is the sheer amount of work it would take to post this many photos. Why would you go through all of this work? 452,000 posts on any platform is a large feat, and I honestly don't think that they were posted by a bot, as you will soon learn. So why on earth would someone go through all of this trouble, day after day, just to make these posts? If you Google Ron Legarski, quite a few profiles pop up, and we get a decent bit of information about this person. On his LinkedIn profile, it shows that he owns two companies, Hex Mining, a Bitcoin mining service founded in 2014, and a company called SolveForce, an internet service provider founded in 2004. I want to also note that this guy seems to have multiple LinkedIn accounts, and in one he lists himself as a realtor for Century Realty, and another one he lists himself as an online marketer. And in another LinkedIn profile that's tied to the SolveForce site as well, it reads the following. As you'll notice, there's very little information here, and he does list his skills in regards to his LinkedIn profile, but all of this word salad that he includes on top of all of this is incredibly bizarre. If that didn't seem weird enough, if you Google this guy's name, the first photo that comes up of him is a picture of him and Bill Clinton. This photo seems to have no discernible context other than I suppose this guy went to some sort of meet and greet with him. Out of curiosity, I even looked into whether this photo was photoshopped in photo forensics, and it doesn't seem to be edited. Getting back to his companies, looking at both the Hex Mining site and SolveForce, they read normally as a business website should. I will say though, the Hex Mining site does seem unfinished. I ended up looking into this individual business in the state of California to find any filings, and I couldn't find any under this name. There could, however, be a number of reasons why I was unable to locate the individual filings. It could be under a different name, could be listed out of state. I definitely believe this guy to be relatively successful, but let's get into the details here. Moving on to Ron's Instagram, we get an understanding of what he was using the Google Map photos for. On his business Instagram account, he is seen using geotag spheres to create geometric shapes in connections. He leaves no captions or hashtags of any kind on these photos, and his bio simply links back to his website. Among the various story highlights he has posted, we can see that this guy is really into geometric shapes, and he seems to be using the highlight function on Instagram just to post his creations that he's done with the maps. Another thing I should mention regarding Ron's digital footprint is that I found quite a few books on his Amazon Kindle publishing page. If you're unfamiliar with Amazon Kindle publishing, it is a way to sell ebooks over Amazon. In fact, when you search his name, this is actually the first thing to come up, and it shows his bio on his Amazon profile. It reads the following: Ron Legarski is a family man and the owner of SolveForce, as well as a universal communications advisor for major telecommunications providers, technology firms, and software companies. He is happily married to a beautiful woman and a father of 4 amazing children. This confirms that this is our guy by way of connecting him to SolveForce, and interestingly enough, we learn that this guy is a family man. Going through his published books on Amazon, we learn quite a bit. His published books are all in the realm of self-help and were posted a couple of years ago. However, his most recent book is titled Wisdom Scroll: Knowledge Codes, and after looking at the Amazon bestsellers rank, I wanted to find out how much he was selling of this book a month, and it turns out it's only something like 4 copies a month. This book is some form of self-help, and the product description reads like this guy's typical word salad. I actually bought the book, and it was somewhat readable, more so than the description would lead on. But after 272 pages, it's basically just what you'd expect it to be. It's a self-help book with a bunch of motivational quotes. There's a bunch of geometric figures, a bunch of astral pseudoscience, and then a bunch of Bible verses sprinkled in. Moving on, let's take a look at Ron Legarski's YouTube channel, to which the best way I can describe it is like stepping into another dimension. I found quite a few YouTube channels belonging to him. One is called WisdomFi, PsychWeb, Library Mastermind, SolveForce, and a few others named Ron Legarski. Most of his videos are live streams, some of which are live for upwards of 11 hours. Let's take a look at some of those YouTube videos.
We're going to keep screaming and beating. The disturbing, ignorant, superstitious, fearful rhetoric, psychologically inferior, despicable, eloquent, benevolent, God's creator.
As you can tell, none of it makes sense, and the random use of effects on his live stream adds this sense of a really bizarre aesthetic. Here, even if you bother to make out the words, it is word salad once again, but occasionally, I will say, he does seem lucid. As you can imagine, most of his videos take place from his office, but on occasion, he does live stream outside of that. Many of his comments on his videos are simply pointing out that they found him on Google Maps. But as you can imagine, people in the comments are just as confused as to the purpose of what he's doing online, and he never really responds to these comments. While you might just immediately write this guy off as a mentally unstable man, there's actually quite a bit of context that you should consider going forward. At first, I thought the same thing, but there seems to be something else going on here. There are actually quite a few instances of this guy acting completely normal. And if we look at a video that goes back 6 years ago, we can see a testimonial that Ron Legarski did for another company called Legarski. Let's take a look.
It's a unified marketing, customer relationship management system that is far superior than anything that I've ever seen. Legarski is basically a technology brain trust. I don't see myself ever leaving. They're actually a part of the business plan, at least the SolveForce business plan. They act as a paymaster. So other partners that we bring on, we don't necessarily have to worry about the accounting. We're able to divvy it up appropriately, whatever percentages are agreed upon, and then divide it up amongst the group. Well, I've been with them for almost a decade, and it literally has changed my lifestyle. And I really enjoy my work now because I'm able to work at home, I'm able to raise a family, I'm able to set my own schedule. And without the tools that they've given and the opportunity that exists in telecommunications, I wouldn't be where I'm at today.
As you can see, he seems completely normal, and there are no tattoos on his hands like there are today. The other thing I want to point out is that he mentions his family once again. But where is his family? Well, on one of his alternate accounts on YouTube, he does a live stream of himself with his family on the way to Legoland. The video starts out very normal. He's kissing his wife. Then, after turning on the live stream, and seemingly out of nowhere, he proceeds into his esoteric word salad. This goes on with the family in the background for 1 hour, and no one says anything. What's incredibly interesting is that after him going on rambling for some time, when he pulls up to pay, he's completely normal and even makes some jokes and small talk. There is one last video I want to show you before I get to my analysis. This video comes from when Ron Legarski was at some kind of networking event for Cisco, which is another B2B company.
You know what 0 divided by 0 is? I showed you. I already know. I do this all the time. But I'm glad you said I don't know. Because most people say it's 0 or some other number because they've never done it. Now, when you understand this, it's the root to the crown, up and down. By deductive reasoning, you bring the seasoning and reasoning. And then you please with ease at ease.
Before I even get into the analysis of this entire internet oddity, I want to say by no means am I a psychological expert. I'm not trying to diagnose this guy in any way. I just want to point out my own personal observations to try and make sense of the situation. So that way if anyone stumbles upon Ron Legarski from his thousands of photos, they'll have somewhat of an explanation to see what is going on. Now, in my opinion, the biggest standout trait in all of this is the compulsive rhyming scheme and the focus on wayward sounds with this guy as opposed to their meaning. It seems to lead him into this rhyming word salad. In my opinion, this sounds like the psychiatric term called clanging. Clanging, or clang associations, are the verbal linking of words with similar sounds and are a hallmark of psychotic phases of bipolar disorder and in many cases schizophrenia. To summarize this situation to the best of my ability, in my opinion, it seems like this guy is experiencing some degree of mania, whether it be from schizophrenia or bipolar. Thereafter, it also seems like he's not getting traditional treatment, or it's not working for him, and thus his family is allowing him to use the internet as a coping mechanism. That is my best guess as to what's going on here. Now, to wrap this up, I'd hope that this guy has sought out some form of treatment. Ron hasn't uploaded to YouTube within 3 weeks, and his photos were recently made private on Google Maps a couple days ago. I'm hopeful that he's getting help right now. Like I said previously, I am not an expert, but seeing this situation is unnerving, especially with the knowledge that this guy has a family. This started off as a somewhat interesting rabbit hole, but has led us down quite a dark path of the morbid reality of mental illness, which is really scarier than any other dark corner you'll come across on the web. With all of that being said, if Ron Legarski does return to YouTube, my only hope is that he would come back in a better state of mind. This is Barely Sociable. Have a great night.